If you've watched very many of my videos, it's pretty obvious I'm a bit of a fan of Festool sanders. They work really well. Yeah, they're expensive, but for me, as somebody with asthma, it's worth the expense to minimize my dust exposure. And about a year ago, Festool did a promotion where they had a 5-inch sander for 99 bucks. Basically what it ended up being is version 2 of the ETS 125 that they've had for quite a while. I've had one for years. Because that price was so good, I bought one, and part of the promotion was you got a coupon to get $50 off of another Festool purchase. That had to be done by the end of this year, 2017. Now, before you go thinking that I'm a full-on Festool fanboy, I do have a few sanders that are not Festool that I will be doing a video on hopefully pretty soon, because they've actually been pretty impressive, especially at the price point. So that's coming. But for today, I want to show you the sander that I did get and a couple of the reasons as to why I got this sander. All right, so here it is. This is the RO90. Open it up and take a look. So you have your normal plug-it cord that pretty much everything Festool uses. I really like these because you get a long cord that's easy to put away, and it's interchangeable between most of the tools, especially the sanders. And then here's the sander itself, which has just a 3-inch pad, I think it is. And you don't get a lot of paper in the box. At least mine didn't come with them. I only got 2 sheets, one of the triangle, one of the round. But this leads into one of the interesting features of this sander. So you can see we've got a round sanding head here, but down here in the box, we also have a triangular head. And that's so that you can get into corners better than, obviously, than a round sander can. Also, this sander is a dual action sander, meaning it can do really rough work and fine work. The difference is on the rough work, the coarse setting, that's going to be rotary only. And then on the finer setting, it's random orbit. So if you're not familiar with the difference with a rotary sander, all it does is spin, and that's it. And it can be very aggressive. Random orbit is still turning, but it has kind of that jittery effect to it, so it's not nearly as aggressive. Variable speed connects to a Festool vacuum hose, of course. And I just want to show you how the head has changed. They have the instructions right here, so it's pretty hard to miss. You got to make sure that you've got this selector pointed to the triangle, flip it over, and then turning counterclockwise will unlock the head. Comes right off. And there are a few different types of heads that you can get. You can see it here on the box. There's one that I'm not positive, like I'm brand new to this, but I think this one is meant for some of the polishing abrasives that are available. And then you have another one that I believe the blue is hard. It's a stiffer pad, and this one here is kind of a medium or soft. I'm not sure. I'm going to need to look that up. And for the triangle head, there's 2 different ones there as well. A little bit longer one, I guess. I don't know. That one wasn't included. All right, so with that head off, and there are storage spots in the sustainer. To put the triangle head in, you just match it up to these tabs here. Push in this slide, and then turn. And it is kind of snug. There you go. Clicked into place. Now you're ready to go. If you want to take it off, push that slide back in, and just like the round head, twist counterclockwise. Round head back on, same thing. Drop it onto those tabs, and turn it clockwise to lock it in place. Now you're ready to go. Something else that I think is worth going over real quick is what my reasoning was in purchasing that sander. So I want to show you one of my this is an older Festool that I've had. It's actually one of the few that doesn't have the plug-it cord. So this is the RAS 115. This is a rotary only sander, and if you look closely at the sandpaper, you can tell that it's very aggressive. This, I don't remember what paper I'd have to go look on the shelf. It's either 24 grit or 36 grit. So very aggressive, but it works quite well for shaping and sort of power carving, I guess you could say. Similar to what you would do with a grinder, like when they'll have those burr wheels that you can carve with, like I think Kutzall makes one, and Sir Galahad and a couple others. And those are great. The thing that led me more towards this is it's not quite as aggressive as those are, and you've got dust collection. And when you're doing that type of work, it's really messy. Even with this one, you're not going to collect all of the dust. It's still going to be a mess. But it works really well, and I've enjoyed it, and I've carved a lot of stuff with this. It's a 4-inch disc, I think. 4-inch or 4 1/4. I don't remember exactly. So you might ask yourself, if you already have a sander that can do rotary only, why would you want the other one? Well, let me show you. So the first reason is the smaller size. My main reason for getting the RAS when I got it was for carving out the seat portion of a chair. And it does quite well with that. The one thing I've always struggled with is going from here to the higher grits. Yeah, you can use a rounded card scraper, which I've done, but sometimes, depending on the project, that's going to slow you down, right? And so I wanted to find a way to get through those things quicker. And the other sanders that I have never really quite worked for that because they're larger diameter. Even my smaller, the Pro 5 I was just talking about is bigger. And my very first Festool, and the one that I use the most, the 150, is bigger still. If you have these contours within the butt portion of your chair that you've got roughly carved out with this, coming back in to smooth those out is harder to do with a larger diameter disc. So that was a big reason for wanting to pick this guy up. Another thing is actually to use with my lathe. When I have something that's close to being finished, and if it's something that because I'm not great on the lathe yet. That's something I'm fairly new to and still kind of learning the ropes. I know you can get a great finish with a scraper, but even with that, mine still ends up needing a little more work. So my hope with this was to be able to use it at the lathe for some of this finish sanding on the outside of a project. Now, if I was doing some sort of a vessel and I wanted to sand the inside, probably not going to work. I mean, if it was something, a big bowl on a large lathe, that might work, but my lathe is really small, so I'm not going to be doing anything very large. So that was one of the big reasons for wanting this particular sander. I think another question that may come up is it worth it? Well, that depends, because as you're probably already aware, a Festool is going to cost you a lot more than a DeWalt or a Bosch or a Milwaukee sander. So that's really kind of to each their own. For me, with my sort of paranoia about dust, it is worth it. And I've had nothing but luck with my Festool sanders. My 6-inch Festool sander, that thing, I've had that for, I don't know, probably close to 10 years, and it's been rock solid, shows no signs of stopping. So all in all, I'm a fan of their sanders. Okay, I've connected it to the vacuum and just the plug-it cord that was already connected. So show you the finish mode. Then I'll switch it to the radial real quick. So hopefully you can see the difference in how those turn. I'm going to grab a piece of wood real quick and let's just see how it looks. Since I've already got it set on the fine setting, I'm going to start with that. Nothing fancy. You probably can't see a big difference just yet. This is an end grain board that is fresh off of the drum sander, so it's going to take a little bit longer to get through all of those grit marks from the drum sander. So to that end, I'm going to try the radial only and see how that goes. So the first thing I notice running this in radial only mode is it's significantly more aggressive feeling. It's wanting to kind of pull itself, which makes sense because it's like running a router, you know, where you've got just everything's going in that one direction and it's really grabbing onto the work. So that makes sense, and obviously easier to control when it's in the random orbit mode. One thing that I'll have to report back on later is just how it feels after a long sanding session, because obviously that is a very different shape from something like this, you know, which you can just hold, goes just great, balance is fine, it'll stand up on its own. Whereas this guy is not going to just stand up on its own, it's got weight on the back end. And just in that little bit that I did just now, it felt fine, it was easy enough to control, so nothing crazy. But that was only for a couple minutes. So down the road I'll have to do an update on kind of how that plays out, how that feels. And I don't think I'll use it a lot on flat surfaces for final sanding. The other sanders that I have, Festool and not Festool, I think are a little bit better suited for that. This is going to be more for my shaping stuff with chair seats and some other somewhat secret ideas I'm working on that I haven't quite finished, so they're not ready to show. Anyway, that's my Christmas present to myself, the Festool R090 DX-FEQ. No idea what that stands for, but if you have any questions, leave them below. I will try to answer what I can. I just barely got this yesterday. This is the first time I've used it, so obviously I'm not going to be an expert on this specific sander just yet. But so far, I'm not going to send it back. I like it. So, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.